If you watch my intro closely, you will have noticed a couple examples of the topic of this video. Today I'm going to briefly go over time-lapses using the Canon 90D. I'll first show you the annoying way of shooting time-lapses, and then I'll show you the Raymond way of shooting time-lapses. First, the annoying way. Make sure your camera is in video mode. Press the menu button, select Time-Lapse Movie, select Time-Lapse. Here you'll see 3 default scenes plus a custom scene. The default ones are basically just starter settings for different types of time-lapses you might want to do. Selecting a scene once will give you a description of the kind of time-lapse this is meant for, but this really doesn't matter since you'll be able to change the time interval and number of shots anyway. Selecting the active scene a second time will take you into that scene's menu. Here in scene 3, the default interval/shots show that the camera will take a shot every 15 seconds, a total of 240 times. More importantly, you'll notice at the bottom left that this will take 59 minutes and 45 seconds to complete, giving you a total of 8 seconds of time-lapse footage on a 24 frames per second timeline. Waiting nearly an hour to get 8 seconds of footage that may or may not come out great is basically why I never do this, but I'll show you 2 examples of when I did that may look familiar to you. After finalizing your settings and exiting the menu, you'll be presented with this screen, which will help you get started. For this type of time-lapse, it's probably best to shoot in manual settings, or at the very least lock your exposure settings. For example, number 1, I caught a San Francisco sunrise back in December 2019. I believe I set the interval to every 5 seconds for 300 shots, which comes out to 25 minutes. So if you have a jacket and some place to sit while your camera works its magic, that will really help. And of course a tripod is mandatory. And there you have one of the 2 time-lapses in my intro. The other time-lapse in my intro came from Lombard Street the very next day. Here's a fair warning to those of you who want to go to the crooked street. If you're coming from the east, you'll probably have to walk up a steep hill, and the intersection is generally crowded. So for this time-lapse, I used the same 5-second interval and 300 shots, this time to catch the sunset instead of the sunrise. Admittedly, this didn't come out exactly the way I wanted, and in fact, this might be a rare case where auto exposure would have given me better results. Because in hindsight, auto exposure may have produced some cool effects as the ISO slowly adjusted to the night sky. Okay, now I'll show you the Raymond way of shooting time-lapses. This is simple. Just shoot about 2 minutes of footage, take 1:40 seconds of it, and speed it up to 1000% in post. Done. It's a much easier way of getting 10 seconds of time-lapse footage, and the results aren't even bad. Now, obviously the disadvantage is that you can't shoot longer scenes like sunrises and sunsets. Oh wait, you can! See, the time-lapses I showed earlier using the interval method each took 25 minutes. The Canon 90D has a video record limit of 30 minutes. If you have to shoot a time-lapse of a 30-minute scene, just use the video mode. Anyway, at the beginning of the pandemic, I shot a time-lapse each day to document the air quote lockdown life.